Welcome back. In this video I'll finish off the handlebar controls. I was lucky enough to find a brand new set of XJ650 handlebars, and I was drilling this end out because I want to put blinkers in there, and this suddenly became a very complicated job because what I thought was just a few mil thick ended up being pretty much a solid end on these OEM bars. So 1/4 inch drill wasn't long enough. This is about nearly 1/2 inch, and I get to the end of that drill and that's still not enough. And then I get to this 13 mil drill, which is the biggest I have, and it just makes it. And unbelievably, that was solid for about 5 inches. Now I believe that was because it's there to reduce vibration, but either way, it was a hell of a job to drill out. So just drilling the holes for the Moto Gadget gear I'm going to put on these handlebars for the feed wires. And at this point I'd done that much drilling that I had to sit down and have a bit of a break. So if you haven't seen my earlier videos, I do have an oil burner, and it obviously burns oil when I need to get rid of oil. It burns wood as well, and I did this mod so I can even cook in it. So there's nothing like a nice burger when you've got a hard night out in the shed, so I thought this was well deserved after all this drilling. So at this stage I had all the drilling done, and I start putting the draw wires through, and you can see there's a whole number of Moto Gadget parts I'm using. So one is the Moto Gadget switches, Moto Gadget grips, and M button. So these are the switches. I'm using 2 lots, a dual button here which I'm going to put on the right hand side, and they're really well built. And the left hand side I'm putting a 3 button version which will include the start. Now these Moto Gadget switches, Moto Gadget recommends that you earth both of the terminals, and then you connect those two and earth it to the actual housing of this switch, which if you look carefully there's a threaded hole right in the middle, which I must say I don't really like that idea. So what I'm going to do is I'm not want to rely on an earth going through the switch housing to the handlebars to the triple tree to the earth eventually. I'm going to run a separate wire for that, and I think really, in my view, that's how it should be. Now here's the Moto Gadget M button. This fits inside the handlebars, simplifies the wiring a lot, but I must say it's quite a fiddly job with this many wires inside small handlebars like the way they are. Here are the Moto Gadget billet handle grips, so they look awesome. And look, everything Moto Gadget is so well made, but it is very expensive. It's hard to say on whether it's justifiable or not. For me, I feel it is for a build like this. And to finish, one of the last things is the Moto Gadget M-Spy mirrors, which again, excellent build. I think they're going to look great on there. And the last thing I need obviously is the blinkers. So I figured I've gone this far, I may as well go with Moto Gadget M-Blaze blinkers as well. So here I'm just starting to put things together, because when you put those blinkers in, you need to make sure that the grips and the mirrors are on, because otherwise you can't get them on unless you put another connector in there, which I didn't want to do. So these are the M-Blaze indicators. Again, Moto Gadget, they're built so well. They come in a set, so there is a right hand and a left hand. They're not actually the same, and that's because the front facing LED is brighter than the rear. So just starting to pull the wires through here as I'd set up on the bench. Here's the M button just getting pulled inside the handlebars, so that'll sit inside the handlebars, which probably will never come out again. Once I pull that in, I've got all the cables set up here. So there's the 2 button Moto Gadget wires and the earth, the brakes, this lump coming out of the middle. Some of those I need to push to the left hand side, and some of them are earths, and I'm going to put those inside the handlebars. So here I'm sort of just grouping them all together, all the earths. I solder them, and I've just got one wire I'm going to pull out from the handlebars. So once I feed that back in, I've actually only got 4 wires that come out of these handlebars, and 2 of them are the power cables for the blinkers, one each side. One is at the earth, and the only other cable that goes from this M button is the green cable, and that's basically the signal button. So every input signal to the Moto Gadget unit is through that same one wire, and I must say I don't really understand how it works, but the M button does the job. There's no power to it. It's just some sort of earthing mechanism. So this is with all the wires pulled through now, and I'm just ready to start locking down those M switches. So before I do that, I lock the grips into their final spot. So they have this little collar and a number of grub screws. So you got to line it up properly, tighten the grub screw. So on this side, it's obviously on the throttle twist, and it just screws on. So it's a left-hand thread. So as you increase the throttle, you're actually making that tighter. So there's no chance it's going to come off. And there it is finished on the right hand side. So I've got the blinker, the M Spy mirror, fits awesomely, the M grip, and then the M switches. So on the left hand side here, I just wire this up. Again, I'm running a separate earth all the way to ground rather than relying on it through the handlebars. Now that might work, but yeah, as I said before, I don't like that idea. There's the 4 wires that out of all that lot is the only thing going to the headlight area. So I run a bit of heat shrink on that. Once I shrink it, it fits inside that grommet I put there, so there's no chance that those cables are going to wear through. And what I do then is I put that cable through the headlight, attach a plug on it, so if I ever have to remove the handlebars, the M button, the switches, the mirrors, the whole thing just unplugs, and I just lift the entire handlebars out, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem. I don't really want to ever have to get those wires out of the handlebars or the M button, so we'll see how reliable it is, and hopefully I never see that button again. I've decided to keep the original XJ650 light. I actually think it looks quite good. It's a very large light. I think it's 8-inch. And here it's all put together and given it a bit of a test for the first time. So right hand bottom button is for the blinker, and you can see how bright it is. I still need to adjust it, and you can see it flashing on the speedo. Left hand bottom button is the left blinker. The right hand top button is for the headlight. So if you press it once, it's the normal headlight. If you press it a second time, you get high beam. And the other button on the left hand side, the top button's the horn, and the one behind that's the start button. So I'll start it up now to let you have a listen, and in the next video I'll finish off the rear tail light. Stay tuned.